Good evening. It is Monday, January 24th at 7 p.m. and I'm calling the Maple Plains City Council meeting to order. Please stand and join us for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can everyone online hear us okay? See? Okay, perfect. Welcome. Looking for a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Cahill,
I'll second.
second by DeLong. Any further discussion? All in favor of adopting the agenda as is, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. First item of business is to extend the local emergency, which we did do this at our meeting on the 10th. And this will go until February 7th, but we do need to do the resolution to go with it. So,
Did you explain
questions?
it anymore? I'd be happy to answer questions. This is really just kind of a housekeeping order. What we had adopted on the 10th was a mayoral declaration of a local emergency, and what we need is formal council approval. We don't typically do motions at workshops, so I'm just kind of formalizing that process here as a housekeeping issue.
Was this resolution drafted by our attorney?
No,
Okay,
this is a kind of a sample that I snagged from another city.
all right.
Sufficient.
do we have a number for the resolution?
We don't. Jill and I would prefer that the motions have just like it's written, motion to approve a resolution with the title. And that way it leaves us a little bit of room for those numbers after the fact.
So we are looking for a motion to approve a resolution to enact pursuant to Minnesota statute section 1229, extending the period of a mayor declared local emergency.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Cahill, second by Fay. It is a roll call vote.
Fay,
Aye.
Mayor Moskowski,
Aye.
DeLon.
Aye.
Cahill,
Aye.
All right, and Lucas not here, so the ayes have it 4-0. I do know one of the things we talked about with this on the 10th was also we had enacted the mask mandate in City Hall and at the fire station. So were we able to get signs up?
I printed the signs.
Because
just
those are
noticed they're
still our
not
friendly
here,
option.
And I'm like, where did my signs go? So there was some, I don't know where they got lost along the way, sorry. But yeah, we will get them up, and I did notify the fire department of the mandate as well.
And the school reached out and they were very appreciative of the support and sending the same message. So just wanted to pass that on to everyone. All right, well, we'll revisit that on the 7th and hopefully things will be looking better. All right, next item of business is visitors to be heard. We do not have anyone tonight. Anyone online? Okay. We will move on to the consent agenda. I would like to pull December 13th City Council Workshop and December 13th City Council Truth and Taxation meeting.
You didn't see Frank either, huh?
Nope.
Is there Frank in
With
there?
that, so we're looking
Ta-da.
for a motion to approve the December 6th City Council Workshop, the December 20th City Council Workshop, and the December 20th City Council Business Meeting Minutes.
So moved.
Moved by DeLon,
Second.
second by Fay. Any further discussion? All in favor of approving those, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it 4-0. I had pulled the December 13th one in letter 3A. It it says that our first year is final at 15%. It was my understanding that there was 3 scenarios presented, and then we were gonna discuss from there, and that the decision wasn't final.
What page is that?
It is on page 11, letter 3A. The utility rate study conversation. Council members discusses scenarios, providing utility rate study, and determine that a 15% increase the first year, followed by a 10 to 15 increase the second year would be in order.
If that isn't that what we did?
Yeah.
I thought that's what we
Okay,
did.
so that is final?
Yeah.
Okay, then I misunderstood. I thought we were still,
Well, that was our decision, but we still have the discussion, right?
well, we're gonna have a listening session and
Yeah.
discuss before we made any final decisions. This says that we already decided that it's a 15% increase. I didn't think we agreed to that. That's why we're still having a listening session, but
I thought the session was more an information session. Like, this is the data we have, this is the decision we made. More explaining.
Determine that the 15% increase the first year followed by a 10 to 50% increase the second year would be in order. So how do you want to word that?
Right, it's like you haven't made a formal adoption of it. I mean, that's clear. That was just a workshop. We still need to do like the actual ordinance adoption.
Right, and theoretically, depending on the input we get from residents at the workshop, this could change theoretically, couldn't it?
Of
So,
course.
right,
Yeah, this just says that we felt it was in order.
well,
it says determine that a 15% increase the first year. I mean, that sounds pretty non-negotiable to me, which,
proposed
yeah, that,
and
Maybe just adding the
proposed that
word
a
proposed.
15% increase the first year, followed by a tentative. Just change determine and to proposed.
I think that, yeah.
that feels better to me.
Okay.
And more reflective of what we did. All right, so is there agreement with that? I'm sorry, Caitlin, I can't see. Okay. All right, and then on the next one, 1213, there was no interim city administrator there. Our very own Clarissa Hadler was
I
there.
think I attached the wrong document.
And
I
I led the pledge.
Yeah.
Sorry, John.
That was my,
I'm like, I was there.
I think the wrong version of the document got in there, so I apologize.
Well, other
I'll
things
do
in it
the-
though are right. So,
Is it?
yeah.
yeah, everything else is right.
Everything
So you
else
must
is
have copied
accurate.
and
I just might-
pasted out of
It's
that.
the
That
top.
portion,
Yeah.
It's the
okay.
very top.
So we can do, I'll make those changes and they'll be good.
So those were so 2 changes on 1213 and that one, and then just the one wording on the other. Okay, so with those changes, looking for a motion to approve the December 13th City Council workshop with the word change and the December 13th City Council Truth and Taxation hearing with the 2 name updates.
So moved.
Moved by DeLon,
Second,
second by Kate. Any further discussion? All in favor of approving those, please
Aye.
signify.
I,
Guys have it 4-0. Next item of business tonight is accounts payable.
Sure, I printed those.
Page 20.
I didn't put the whole back, I only printed the ones that I need. I actually let Sharon handle the majority of this. It went very smoothly, but I'm happy to try and address individual questions if you had any. I just don't have the numbers in front of me. We did do the separate batches, you'll notice, to kind of keep things more organized for the 2021 expenses versus the 2022 expenses. That seemed to work well.
No questions from DeLon?
Going forward, there's thousands of dollars in legal and engineering for the downtown development, which has had a hiccup. Those are non-recoverable. Okay.
No, I would think I would consider those. I don't know, Mark, if you want to speak to that at all, but we've been kind of discussing, is it, do we change our tact moving forward with the, new future developer or potential developers, or is it just, are these just kind of typical kind of sunk costs when you're trying to develop, sort of sales costs, if you will, trying to develop?
Yeah, I think part of it is sales costs, and I think part of it though is something that the city needs to not be responsible for, and we've made that point clear. I think if we were to engage another development group, we would be seeking an escrow to cover the non-city costs, but some of our work is work that the city now has value in, right? Some of the TIF findings and some of that exploration, just doing some of that, there's real value. Same with the street reconstruction, stuff, anything associated with that. But there was definitely site specific or developer driven specific elements that should be covered. And I think it's pretty typical, but I mean, Clarissa and I have talked too, that it's just, we've been trying for a long time to get people interested to come forward. And so there was some kind of grace period in there where we were saying, yeah, we'll keep working on this in good faith. And so.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding accounts payable? Okay, with that, I'm looking for a motion to approve the two city check batches, check batch number 1 for the 2021 expenses and check batch number 2 for the 2022 expenses.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Fay,
I'll second.
second by DeLon. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the two city check batches, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I,
Same sign. Okay, motion carries 4-0. The next motion we need is to approve the fire partnership check batches, check batch number 1 for 2021 expenses and check batch number 2 for 2022 expenses.
so moved.
Moved by Cahill, second by DeLon. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye or show of hands.
I,
The same sign. Okay, motion carries 4-0. This evening, we have our staff with us, so thank you so much for everyone being here virtually or in person, and also submitting everything in writing. So we will start with our city planner.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Council. This report is for the month of January. I mean, high level stuff. We continue to get a ton of requests about 5370 Highway 12 regarding the potential reuse of that property. I mean, as you know, that's one of the largest kind of conglomerate pieces of property in the city. Half of it's got a warehouse industrial building, and more than half, I guess, is actually vacant green space. We hear a lot of different uses, and we've had several meetings with potential users as well as the owner and broker for that property. As late as today, I had a call on that property about the possibility of parking 1,000 vehicles associated with a dealership on that property. So we've gotten just like all across the board, lots of requests, and there's a lot of activity. Similarly, and kind of in concert with that, the 1741 Bud Avenue property, which is the other vacant property we've talked a lot about over the years in the city. It's that 3-acre piece across from Memorial Park. That one is for sale actively, and we get a lot of calls on kind of potential uses for that. So there's a lot of time that we're working with realtors and potential developers of properties right now. We had more activity and just working more on the 1675 Spring Avenue. That's the development that we approved recently, and we've just been going through some of the construction pieces of that prior to them actually beginning construction. We did some nuisance enforcement and site inspections on a property that the council is familiar with at 5420 Main. Hopefully we've gotten that to a point where it's in good condition. And then we had some additional meetings on the 1701 Baker Park Road property, which is the one that came through council for conceptual review of a subdivision. There was a preliminary plat actually submitted on that property. We responded to that submittal saying it was incomplete, asking for some additional information, but I do anticipate that that submittal is going to come back in front of the city. And then I just wanted to point out one thing that came up actually in the last week since I prepared this written report. We've seen some additional activity on the former Haven Homes site. I've had a couple of calls now with a group that's interested in that. It wouldn't surprise me if we could see something come forward on that property in the next couple of weeks. So I just want to give the council a heads up in case you hear it. It's a group that had kicked the tires at the end of last year a little bit, but I think they were still doing some of their own due diligence. We didn't hear from them, and now they're I think getting to a point where they might try to move something forward. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions regarding the report or any of the information I presented.
Any questions? Thank you very much for your report and for your work.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from West Hennepin Public Safety Director Trails.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and council members. Included in your packet is the December 2021 activity report, or our end of year report. Through 2021, we handled 4,824 incident complaints for both cities. And for the month of December, 221 were in Independence and 136 were in Maple Plain, as you can see by the charts. I'll highlight a few cases for you, and then feel free to ask any questions you have about any other ones I don't talk about. December 2nd, we had a theft from auto, kind of a double whammy for the person. Their car broke down, and so they pulled into one of the larger lots in the 1300 block, County Road 19, and unfortunately didn't lock their vehicle and left their purse inside. And when they had the vehicle towed and tried to get it back, the purse and credit cards were stolen and had actually been used already at a retail store. So that case is still under investigation. These cases are hard to prove. Unfortunately, one of the bad things with the mask mandates is the bandits all walk into the store wearing a mask and a hoodie, and you can get zero recognition of who these people are because of the mask that they're wearing. December 9th, kind of a commendable deal on our officers doing the right thing. Somebody found a wallet at a shopping center in Minnetonka. That person picked up the wallet and drove to Maple Plain and happened to see one of our squads parked on Highway 12 and pulled over and said, "Hey, here's a wallet I found in Minnetonka." Now, most of you know that most police departments, if it didn't happen in your city, it's not our problem. And so the wallet was found in Minnetonka. Most would say, bring the wallet back to Minnetonka and call the Minnetonka Police Department. Our officer didn't do that. He took the wallet, he looked through, found the ID, found the owner lived in Minnetrista, called the owner in Minnetrista, and actually, I believe, drove it to his house. And the person didn't even know they had lost or were missing their wallet. They had lost it 2 days prior, or were in Minnetonka at the shopping center 2 days prior, and everything was still inside the wallet, including all the cash. So a good Samaritan doing the right thing, and our officers going above and beyond for something that didn't occur in our city, and the person didn't live in our city. So that I just wanted to bring that one up. Loud music complaint, 5700 block of Main Street. This has been a residence where we've had a lot of loud music complaints, and I believe our officer and staff even wrote a memo to the city of Maple Plain just advising how many times we've been there. I've advised my staff that enough warnings in regards to these loud music complaints. Younger adults, teenagers, go outside and turn their music really loud in their car because I'm assuming they don't want to play the loud music in the house. So they go outside and play the loud music, which annoys the neighbors, and then we get called. I believe we've been called there five or six times in the last 6 months about this. So citations will be in order on that. December 17th, brought up a medical in the 4900 block at Drake Street. We responded to a female with an uncontrolled nosebleed north. An EMS arrived and tended to her nosebleed. It just goes to show that, no matter what the medical is, that we're there to treat people throughout the cities, both cities that we serve. On December 19th, we were called to the 4800 block of Gateway Boulevard in regards to a suicidal patient that was extremely intoxicated and complaining of chest pains. They didn't have chest pains and they denied being suicidal, but due to the high level intoxication of a 0.25, as a resident of this facility, they were transported to the hospital by ambulance to care for them, as they couldn't care for themselves. 5200 block of Manchester Drive on December 20th. We started getting reports of stolen packages right before Christmas time, people having their Amazon packages brought to the apartment complex, kind of put in the mailroom area, and a lot of these packages were being stolen. That case is still under investigation. And at this time, there's no video footage in that mailroom area. We're working with the owners of that property to try to upgrade some of that. December 22nd, called the 5300 block of Highway 12 to the motel. A resident there, or a renter, did not have insufficient funds to pay for his stay at the motel, and they refused to leave. The officers were called there as the person wouldn't leave even though they weren't paying. And finally, the officers were able to tell them that you can't stay at a place without paying for it in a rental situation. And they left. December 22nd, 5200 block of Manchester Drive, mail caller was depressed, suicidal, was called 911 saying he had a knife and he wanted to cut himself. Officers were successfully able to de-escalate that male down from that situation, and he voluntarily went with the ambulance and to the hospital to get the help that he needed. I just bring up December 27th again as something that most police departments don't do anymore is lockouts. A lot of cities have reduced that service to their residents and to people, and say call a locksmith, which is over $100 to get your vehicle unlocked. We were able to successfully help the Amazon driver out who was delivering packages, who locked his keys in his vehicle, and he was able to continue his deliveries. I'm sure he was running a little bit late after the holidays, a few days after Christmas, trying to get those last minute deliveries made. And December 29th, again, Highway 12, Haugen Road, our officers out doing traffic enforcement, monitoring the highway, and a vehicle drives by with a completely flat tire. And the officer pulls the person over, and the driver goes, "Yeah, I felt something a little weird, but I didn't know what it was." So we were able to get a hold of her father, and her father came and helped her change the flat tire and put air in the tire. But I'd be happy to answer any more questions in regards to the activity report. However, officers are keeping to work hard and diligent. It's been cold. It's like it's not fun to be outside when it's cold, but we're out there and they're all bundled up. Matter of fact, my officers are dealing with a DWI arrest right now, as we see. They just walked in.
Any questions for the chief? Well, thank you to you and your staff for your work and for your service. Next, we'll hear from our city engineer. And
Your Honor, members of the council, my report is fairly brief this month. A lot of things we already talked about here at the workshop. It was mentioned earlier, we have been spending some time with other staff looking at the infrastructure needs related to the downtown redevelopment project. Also helped solicit some quotes for sealing the old well on that property. A lot of time spent taking a look at the CIP for 2022, as we discussed earlier, looking at the streets, sewer, and water needs for the city. We have been working on doing some map updates, so we talked about that a little bit. Also found another update that is long overdue with the street name we'll take care of right away. And before Christmas, we did have a meeting with staff to just talk about the status of Highway 12 and improvements through town, and how we might move forward in continuing some discussions with MnDOT and county for future changes along that corridor. And then otherwise, just kind of the general miscellaneous items, the staff meetings and day-to-day things that come up and are brought to our attention.
Thank you, David. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you for that report and for being here this evening. Next, we'll hear from Public Works, People Service. Dylan.
Good evening. This last quarter, we just kind of, some of the main points that we did, we completed like the biannual flushing for the hydrants and the sewer jetting and televising, worked with Dave and getting that set up. And there was not really very many bad spots found, which is really good news. There was one bad spot on Bud Avenue that they sought out, and they did everything south of the railroad tracks. So it was kind of a big project and get done. They wrapped up park projects too, just like removing the sand volleyball pit and planting like donated trees that Clarissa had lined up in like Brinewood veterans and the Rainbow Park. And then just working on tending the sod of Meadows Park. And some of the major changes made at the water treatment plant the last few months have been seeming to do well. Just repairing the chlorine injection issue and repairing the hydrous manganese solenoid valve that was opening up at the wrong time and causing some issues that Grotman from Bolton and Mink has pointed out. And completed the chemical feed replacement project, just replacing all the chemical feed lines to prevent leaks, and completed a lot of the annual maintenance on the public works and water treatment plant equipment, just with it being more of a slower month with the parks not being as busy, and implemented a few more work orders into the maintenance program too with People Service. So hopefully you'll start seeing those on the next council reports, which is important for that. And then just getting the holiday decorations set up and removed. And we had rented a lift instead of hiring it out this time. So that was kind of a big savings for the city. And just some of the goals for next quarter will just be to get more work orders implemented into the maintenance program and just get a head start on some of the annual inspections with our wells, backflow preventers, lift stations, and some of the roof inspections. And then complete all the annual work orders, kind of get a head start before the busy season when the snow melts. And yeah, just kind of continue on dialing in the water treatment plant process, so we don't have any more water complaints. You guys have any questions? That's it.
You know, I do, and this might be shared between you and Clarissa, but I always love your report. Thank you, by the way. But I'm looking at page 48, which is the graphs on the affluent, as well as and 47, which is the water, and the water usage. 10 of 12 months, we're showing more water being pumped and utilized, but 11 of 11 months in 2021, we sent less affluent to the lift station.
Oh, yeah.
So this is I don't know how to read it. Is it a lack of an I&I issue? And does the Met Council look at that as favorable and maybe discount our monthly Met Council fees?
Let me get on that.
No, they wouldn't do that. They don't really pay attention to how much water is pumped, just how much water they treat. So that really. But the reason that
if we're millions of gallons a month, sometimes less affluent in 2021 than in 2022, we're substantially less water or affluent to the lift station. So you said, they're only concerned about how much goes to the lift station. So less is going to the lift station than it did in 2020. This is a good thing.
Yes, yes, I'll have to look at that more, I guess, and.
More of a comment, not a question. Just something I noticed, the trending of one compared to the other.
I know that we pumped a lot more water and there was less to the lift station because a lot of that water went to irrigation and to the Highway 12
Right,
project.
right.
But, yeah, I guess less from last year to the lift station. I guess I don't really have an answer for that, so I just have to do a little investigation, figure that out.
It's pretty amazing how much less has gone this year.
See the green graph, the
Yeah.
fluid? I mean, you look at January, we're at just over 4 million and compared to over 7 million the year earlier. And it just follows that same trend, 11 of 11 months, and only because we don't have information on December right now. Every month was less in 2021 than it was in 2020. Considerable.
Yeah.
Hundreds or millions.
Which is really interesting because we've had more people at home.
That'd be a good question for Greg Stang too, just because I've only been here since March, so. I wasn't here last year.
And how much did we end up hauling out for the construction project?
It was anywhere from like 10 to 30,000 gallons a day, even more some days, so. It was not.
Oh, okay, so we don't have that number, yeah. Okay, I was just curious how that might play into it all too.
And they've been built.
Oh, yes. They've been billed, they've been reminded, we're looking into how to do debt collection.
No way.
Well, thank you for your report. Any other, Caitlin? Sorry, did you have any questions? Okay, thank you for your report and for your continued work.
Thank you.
Next, we will turn it over to our fire chief, Chief McCoy.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. You have your report attached to your packet, I believe. I'll just kind of go over some highlights on it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask questions. In December, we had 34 calls. The last 27, 28, they sent out a deal on mutual aid calls. And about a week later, we had another mutual aid call from the Corcoran area, same area of a barn fire. So that was kind of a busy week. What was that?
Really hard time hearing you.
It's not the mask, it's internet or the,
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's a
Or
thing,
the-
yeah, it's a microphone, I think, on
Yeah.
the computer.
All right, well, that's the only microphone I have, so I'll try to make the best of it then. The December 16th, we had 4 calls due to high winds in the area, took power out to the city, as you're all aware of that. Ended up taking a tree off the road, cutting it up, getting it out of the way. And also had a couple of other trees blocking roadways, so we took care of that. The December training, basically, we had our Christmas party, and then we kind of focused on alternative fuel vehicles and SCBA confidence training. And then we had a kind of a refresher on our LGAR PPE and EMS responder patient safety protocols first Monday in December. For the year, we responded to 299 calls with about 2,389 hours for those incidents. And I got it broken down by the city there. Total number of calls for mid-plane was 171 with 1645 hours. And 66% of our calls are during the daily time hours from 6 in the morning to 6 at night. And approximately 2,200 hours in training throughout the year. Day of the week calls are pretty even, right around 40 for every day. Wasn't really any days that was more calls than others. So also on the last page, just listed a few highlights for 2021. And if you have any questions, go ahead and ask.
No questions.
Thank you.
Thank you for the great report and for the service from you and your staff. All right, next we'll turn it over to our administrator for administration and finance.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick summary of my update. I'm trying desperately to get back to my project and task list. I have a giant list that I have kind of the things I mean to get back to and follow up on, but it just keeps getting longer and longer. So lots of year-end finance projects. Clearly we got the budget and levy implemented or adopted in December, and so there's a lot of kind of follow-up things and filings for that, and then typical year-end and quarterly reporting, most of which Sharon does. I've got quite a few processes I'm still trying to kind of work through for the audit, which is why I kind of postponed that quarterly financial report. It just doesn't make sense to do it this month. It's going to change so much after we do these journal entries. So we did get direct deposit implemented finally, so that's awesome. It's very, very straightforward. Mayor, I will train you on your steps, but it's literally log in and click approve. It's about as easy as it could be. So, then lots of kind of miscellaneous, sort of projects that we've been working on. Utility rate study, we could be doing that listening session next week on Monday, and bringing forward that for adoption then in February, hopefully. We still have that ongoing recodification, the Muni Code project. It's very kind of time intensive. We just kind of have to keep waiting for people to do their inputs, and it'll get there eventually. Downtown, as you learned from my emails, Ebert has backed out of that project. However, we do have another developer who has expressed interest, so we're following through with him. And then just kind of ongoing stuff, the future fire district meeting, the mayor and I get to kind of lead that discussion at the next meeting, and we'll be focusing on shared equipment, so that should be interesting. And then the cookies with council is scheduled for March 9th in the afternoon. Just missed the deadline for the newsletter, or would have been muffins with the mayor. Maybe next time. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions for our administrator? Thank you for that update and the work you and staff are doing. It's appreciated. It's been busy with all the year-end stuff for everyone. So
And when we had 2 weeks of holidays, and then I was sick, and we're doing audit prep too. I guess I didn't spend too much time on audit prep. We've got audit stuff going on for the next 2 weeks for half of each of the weeks. So just a lot going on. Bad time to be sick.
we're glad that you're feeling better. With that, I'm looking for a motion to receive staff reports A through F.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Dave,
I'll second.
second by DeLong. Any further discussion? All in favor of receiving both written and verbal reports, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. All right, ayes have it 4-0. Thank you very much to all of our staff. We have new business this evening. We'll start with engineering project approvals.
Thank you, Mayor. This is just formalizing the discussion that we just had in the workshop. Dave from Bolton walked us through a number of projects that we have been looking at as staff, have now brought it to the council for review and approval. And Dave, do you want to just give a quick synopsis of that workshop discussion for the recording here?
Sure. Starting with the streets, we had originally proposed a project as we had laid out, had updated the cost, updated the map here that we've been using for a little while. Based on our discussions, it was determined that it makes more sense from an economy of scale standpoint to combine the 2 mill and overlay projects that we were proposing for 2022 and 2023 into one project that would be bigger. So that is the direction that we took and are planning moving forward with, to take care of the engineering portion of that to get us through bidding. That, I guess, is what we're looking for approval tonight. I had put together a couple different numbers. Originally, kind of from a planning standpoint, in my memo that you received in your packet, and then based on some discussions with Clarissa today, I spent some time kind of trying to provide a more detailed look at what it was going to take for us to put plans and specifications together for the street project as it was proposed. And was that given to the council?
I did forward that. in.
So you should have received a different or a separate correspondence with that, but we laid out a scope of services and not to exceed fee for engineering services associated with that street, the mill and overlay project through bidding. Now we've increased the size of that. I guess I'd at least like to talk about how I should calculate that fee going forward. I've just been trying to do some math here and kind of figure out where we'd be at. It looks like the combined project from a construction standpoint is about $772,000 is at least what's estimated in the CIP. What I would guess I would propose is just based on the work I've been doing off to the side here is request a not to exceed fee of $38,000 to get us through bidding for that project. Really the same scope of work that was provided to you this afternoon, but just making some adjustments based on the work that we would do given the size of the project here.
I don't mean to muddy the waters, but we had originally talked around the $500,000 mark. And then we talked about potential to bond up upwards of $1 million. And now we're kind of splitting the difference. Do we want to stick with the $750,000 or do we want to try to pull some other project in so that we maximize the bonding?
I was thinking about combining projects was gonna be closer to $1 million.
Yeah, because you said cash at 500 and you'd be more comfortable.
Yeah, and so I was looking at it. So what I would suggest is kind of understanding that we're trying to maximize the size of this project for what makes sense and what's appropriate for the timing of the improvement. If it would be all right, I'd just like to report back to you at your next work session. Give me a little time to kind of just go through that, pull that apart and make some recommendations to you. Again, I was just kind of pulling apart a little bit what we had talked about here tonight, based on what was kind of at my fingertips, but I could probably give you a little better understanding of that if you just give me a little time. To
So
go
maybe
back
just
and
pull the
apart.
first motion off the.
Yeah. I think that-
Yeah. I think that's fair, and
Yeah,
then we'd have
that
accurate
is.
information because.
That-
did try
I'd feel
to-
more comfortable with
Yeah.
that if it's all right with you.
Yeah, we don't want you stretching it
Yeah.
on a napkin
No.
and we don't want to agree to something that we're not.
Yeah, no, so that'd be great. Then the second part that we talked about at the workshop was moving forward with the Highway 12 water main replacement. That project was initiated last fall, was put on hold. We were seeking quotes at that time. We only got one quote, exceeded our estimate, so we chose to put that on hold. And then the plan right now is to advertise that for competitive bids, bring that back to you. All the engineering is done. Essentially, the plans and specs are put together. The budget's been approved for that. So we just need to follow through now and advertising that, and we'll bring that back to you at a future meeting. And then the last piece was, as Dylan had mentioned in his report, the second half of the sewer televising, cleaning and televising project's been done. We're asking for to be approved or authorized for a not to exceed fee of $5,000 to spend some time reviewing that televising information so that we can come back to you and make recommendations for an improvement project in 2022. in part in an effort to make sure that we're utilizing the grant money that we got for Met Council for our INI.
All right, so with that, then we need two motions this evening. The first is to proceed with the rebidding of the Highway 12 water main project. Is that correct?
I don't think I need a
Well, we
motion
already
for
did
that.
that.
I think,
Yeah,
I think that the direction you gave me is fine for that. So really,
and we already
if
did
you
that
could just,
last.
a motion to authorize the work on evaluating sewer.
Okay, so we are looking for a motion to authorize the evaluation of televising and recommended sanitary sewer rehabilitation.
Well, I'll make that motion.
Motion by Fay,
Second,
second by Cahill. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye or show hands.
Aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. And then I'll work with Clarissa then to pull the street project into what we discussed tonight and report back to you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. All right, next item of business is dispose of 4 generators.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. State statute requires that city councils approve the disposal of equipment, so that's why this is on the agenda. We have 4 generators in our possession, sort of. There's one at the fire hall that has been utilized for a number of years. There are apparently 2 in the storage at Burgers and Caswell that have, I'm not sure they've ever been utilized. And then there is one parked behind the Discovery Center here that was sort of installed, but never actually connected to the building. So I did speak with Ross, the facilities person for the school district, and he was already trying to figure out where it came from and how does he get rid of it. They're going to be doing some HVAC improvements to the building, and so they're going to put some equipment back there. So we are just looking for a motion to dispose of them. We would like to get some money for them, obviously. I'm not sure if they're worth anything. So we'll attempt to get them on an auction. And if that's not a possibility, then we will probably just scrap them.
The 4th generator, the one here. How did we end up owning a generator that was to be attached to the Discovery Center?
It's my understanding, it's like Ray's dropped off, but it's my understanding that the original intent when they brought it over here was in the event the building would have to be used for emergency kind of shelter purposes, that there would be some backup power.
The city made that decision, so we own it?
The fire department, it's in our name. It came from this is all from that DNR, Department of Defense arrangement. So those are in our name. We have documentation that says it's ours.
Sell away.
Right?
Crap, I don't care.
Yeah.
Talk to
They're,
David.
Yep. Well,
All right.
not worth a lot.
it'd be
All right.
great if we could get some money, but mostly we just want everything going.
Yeah, and everything's good. All right, so looking for a motion to properly dispose of or sell the 4 generators via auction or sale.
so moved.
Moved by Cahill,
I'll second.
second by DeLong. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Next item of business this evening is the Hennepin County Waste Reduction and Recycling Grant.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a grant that apparently we've received for a few years. It would have ended this year, so it's the last cycle, 19, 20, 21 maybe. And so we, I guess, just need a resolution to approve that grant agreement. Jill and Sharon kind of took over this whole process, so I don't know too much about the program, but we do. I think last year we received about 20-ish for the 2 programs or 2 or 3 programs. So
Sounds good. So we are looking for a motion to adopt a resolution to approve the 2022 through 2025 residential waste reduction and recycling grant agreement with Hennepin County.
So moved.
Moved by DeLon,
Second?
second by Fay. Any further discussion? Okay, this is a resolution, so it'll be roll call vote.
Let's start with the one.
Hi.
Maskowski,
Aye.
Fay,
Aye.
Haven.
Aye.
Ayes have it, 4-0. Thank you to staff for working on that. Grants are always a good thing. The next item of business is snow removal enforcement fees.
Thank you, Mayor. I would have, probably ideally, I would have thought of this last year. Been able to dig deep, but we, in the process, last couple snowfalls, we've been doing some enforcement with the sidewalk snow removal. You'll recall maybe that we did a sort of a reminder letter to any property owner that has sidewalks on their property. City code requires that property owners clear their sidewalks within 12 hours of the end of a snowfall. So we've done 2 cycles of enforcement. Got a little system. I go out and kind of mark down who needs it cleared. I take it over to Dylan. Dylan takes the tractor out, clears the sidewalks, brings it back to me. Got a little billing system set up. And somewhere along the way, I realized we don't really have fees adopted for this. So the formula, you know, I thought about one way, and then that my goal is essentially to get the fees high enough. We can't gouge people legally for a city. We're not supposed to be profit making. However, we don't want to dissuade people from doing their own sidewalks or using private contractors. So these are the numbers that I'm proposing. The city fee schedule actually does lay out hourly fees for professional clerical at 75 and 50. People services hourly rate is somewhere in that. I think it's hard to tell, because sometimes there's just Dylan, sometimes there's more than one. So I kind of estimated it at 80. And then, of course, we're using a tractor and attachment. So the total of all of those services is $275 per hour. We kind of, on average, it's about 15 minutes a piece for the entire kind of process. And so my request would be that we kind of determine that cost and then bill out at the 15-minute increments.
Any questions for staff?
More of a comment.
Okay.
I understand that balance between not gouging, but having enough to make it somewhat painful. $2.75 an hour is painful. I don't discount the fact that you've got $70 an hour of equipment and you got $80 an hour of people service. And I understand your desire to break it down into 15-minute increments potentially. But is it possible that there is maybe a flat fee for the staff and administration work plus the $150 an hour for staff and equipment you follow me?
I do, and I actually, so that's one of the various scenarios that I had plugged in, and it still just kind of kept it low, wherein if it was call Larson's and they'll do it for a minimum of 75 for a commercial property, 49 something for a residential, and ours is in that, you know, $60, $70 range, because we're billing 15-minute increments. So that 275 ends up being
$70.
Yeah.
right. So I mean,
And most of them are
it's
more.
still at a point where, like, I'm not sure we're disincentivizing people.
I
Okay.
don't think we are.
Yeah, unless we raise that.
Okay,
unless we
but
jack up
so
that flat fee.
I wouldn't know, but I mean, so you're not spending an hour on a property then?
You're talking like a little stretch of a
Yeah,
sidewalk.
they're
Okay.
typically 15 to 25 minutes. I
Okay.
mean, it's, yeah, not long.
So really-
or less.
Okay. I just looked at that and went,
Yeah,
this is gonna get,
well, and so my hope is that people get these letters and then we don't ever have to go out again. I'd like to not have to do it. So I don't think that'll be the case, but
Other questions from DeLong or Cahill?
Clarissa, did you send those letters to those who will start enforcement next year? Because I did not receive one on Manchester.
Just the people that are required this year, we still need to do that follow-up letter, kind of giving people the heads up that they'll need to do it next year. Yeah,
Okay.
that's still. Thank you.
Good point, because there was the two different
Yeah, yep.
situations.
Walking path.
No, there's some where we've been plowing or maintaining that we won't be going forward, so we want to give them plenty of time to transition. That will not start.
I did also hear from Haven Homes clarified that it's in their development agreement that we have to plow that trail there along Bud Avenue. So that is our responsibility.
Along what avenue?
Well, it's not, but sorry, Baker Park Road. The walking trail, not the
Oh, by
sidewalk,
the
the trail
holding
that
pond?
runs north and south, just east of Haven Homes.
It's a big trail.
Yeah. Just heads up.
Any other questions or clarifications? Then I am looking for a motion to adopt the ordinance number 313, amending the fee schedule to add snow removal fees.
So moved.
Moved by DeLong. I'll second it. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye or show of hands.
Aye.
Same sign, motion carries 4-0. Next item of business this evening is council reports and other business. So we will do DeLong, Fay, Cahill, and then I will end that time.
Thank you, Mayor. Just our regular business meetings this month, and then I did attend my first personnel committee meeting to get caught up on where we're at and what we get to look forward to in the coming year.
Thank you, Councilmember Fay.
Not much to report outside of the fire commission meeting, but tomorrow, Wednesday, I will be attending the first, what I would call the kickoff meeting for the 2022 Party in the Park, where we probably take a look at what needs and responsibilities that we had from last year that can translate into this year. So June 4th, 2022, it's a Saturday, is a tentative date at this point until we start crossing T's and dotting I's. But yes, it's January and we're talking about parties in the park. So come one, come all.
Thank you, Councilmember Cahill.
I had a watershed meeting last week, and Claire said they're asking the cities to send a letter officially notifying of who our commissioner is. So if that hasn't been done yet, here's the reminder. So thank you.
Thank you. I was able to attend police commission with Councilmember DeLuca and fire commission with Councilmember Fay and personnel with Councilmember DeLon. And then Rotary has been meeting, Northwest Hennepin League has been meeting. We had a chamber meeting, and we also had a regional council and mayors meeting, followed by a crime meeting with mayors in the area, working on some collaboration with Hennepin County and inclusion with the smaller cities and outside the belt loop. Also was able to attend Minnesota Women in City Government and a District 3 meeting with Congressman Phillips. So there's been a lot going on to kick off the new year and get people back together and working hard. So also want to remind everyone and invite everyone that next Monday we'll have the utility rate listening session at 6:30. There will be both an in-person and a virtual option for that. And that will be at 6:30 on the 31st. Any other business or reports or announcements? With that, then I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I was good.
Moved by DeLong.
I'll second that.
Second by Fay, all in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned at 8 PM.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, but I don't think you